Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below, letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Today's top comment comes from Umbrella Woman, who says the Assassination Classroom Loadout. We'll be playing the Assault using the M416 or the M4A1 as your SAA USO assault rifle. They used the M4A1, but it was fully automatic in the show. Then we'll have the iron sights, laser sight of choice, heavy barrel optional, and no grip. For the sidearm, we'll have the M1911 as your SAA USO handgun with a laser sight. Then we'll be using the D3 decoy. You can't let your sensei know, you must distract him. And then we'll also be using the first aid kit. Your sensei moves at Mach 20 speed, and getting injured will chew up a lot of time, so you have to hurry. Then we're going to have the M67 frag grenades as your MK2 hand grenade and a Bowie knife. We'll be using the offensive specialization. The students were at their offensive for 2 seasons. You are a student of the Kunu Jujeka Junior High School. Governments around the world failed to assassinate their target, which is a yellow octopus who destroyed 70% of the moon. And coincidentally, that yellow octopus is your homeroom teacher. You, your classmates, and your friends only have 1 year to assassinate him before the school year ends, or Earth will become his next victim. Play on Conquest and Team Deathmatch urban maps, as the majority of the show took place in cities and towns. Also, he has a question for me. Level, are you still going to do Battlefield 4 loadouts when Battlefield 1 is launched? And I haven't really thought about that much. I am really looking forward to doing Battlefield 1 loadouts, but if there's enough demand from people in the comments for a Battlefield 4 loadout, then sure, I'll go back and do a BF4 loadout. Now, to be honest, I have not watched the show Assassination Classroom. I've heard a few good things about it. The premise seems absolutely bizarre. I don't even know what to make of it. I think it's one of those shows that you just have to kind of start watching and see what the heck they were actually going for. I think the last anime I watched was Knights of Sidonia, so I haven't been watching too much anime recently, but I do want to get back into it, and perhaps I'll start off with this one. Now, I definitely like the M416. It's one of my favorite loadouts in Battlefield 4. I will say it's very difficult to use it with the iron sights, and you'll see here in a second how it actually gets me killed. The housing around the front post is so large that it actually makes it impossible to see targets sneaking up next to where you're aiming. And right here, there was actually a target hidden behind the housing. I'll slow it down so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So right now, it looks like I just have one target in front of me, but here we go. Second target hidden behind the iron sights. And this is something that you're never going to see if you're using, say, the Coyote sight or the Cobra sight. You can still sort of hide targets below the reticle, like in the body of the gun, but left and right isn't as much of an issue, and that's why most people are going to run with minimalistic housing optics. Here I'm making a little bit of use of the D3 decoy. I already know that that guy's coming around the corner to engage the D3 target. It's pretty good, actually. It's very useful in TDM because you can almost always lure people to a certain location when you're hiding nearby and just take them out. It's also just a good way to take the attention off of you for a second. Now, because we're running with the laser sight on here and I have pretty much my least favorite iron sight optics, it does give me an option to try and hipfire people in close quarters. Still, the hipfire is not great. Also, I opted to run the heavy barrel on this setup, and that means that my hipfire's really going to kind of suffer from that attachment as well. So it's not the greatest hipfire gun in the game. You can use it in a pinch in close quarters. The laser sight will, however, give you away at longer distances, and I kept it on for the most part. Every now and then, if there's a lot of smoke, I would turn it off, but I really do feel like it gives away your position unnecessarily. So unless you get very adept at turning it on and off when you need it, I would just recommend in general not running with it unless you almost exclusively hipfire. And here we are in a game of TDM Golmud Railway. I actually think this is probably one of the best TDM maps in the game, provided that the server doesn't let it go on for too long. Because if it goes on too long, then all the buildings get destroyed and it just turns into this flat, like really unfun map to play. But before that happens, it's actually quite strategic. There's a lot of good hiding places and a lot of good ways to move around the map. And there really just aren't a lot of other maps in Battlefield 4 that offer the same things. I imagine Sinai Desert TDM will probably be similar in that it'll take place around the city area of that map, although that city is even a bit more close and clustered than this one. So it's a little bit more chaotic, I would say, than Golmud Railway. Out of ammo with my primary, low on health, and I almost get this last guy, but not quite. This map certainly has an emphasis on routes. The smarter the route you take, the more cover it has, the higher chances you have of seeing your enemy before they see you, which is pretty much the best advantage you can ask for in a first-person shooter. Now, using the first aid pack over the medic bag is a really fun way to run your soldier if you're being more aggressive. You can't heal multiple people at the same time. You have to deploy 2 first aid packs, which you can do. And sometimes when you're trying to heal yourself, you end up healing a teammate that's got like only 10% damage to them. And so that can be kind of annoying with it. But for the most part, it allows you to just throw it on the ground, you pick it up, and then you heal over time no matter where you are. So you can pick that up and then continue on moving forward with it, whereas with the med bag you have to stay in one location. So the med bag makes you a little bit slower, a little bit more of a defensive player, and the medic pack can allow you to be more aggressive, which is a really fun way to play, and I like it a lot. I actually might end up using it a little bit more for TDM games. Now, as much as I love the M416, a few of the guns that I found myself losing to a lot were the AEK 971. Those weapons are just hard to outdamage. Now, granted, the time to kill between the two guns, the difference is only a fraction of a second, but in Battlefield, when you're going up against an equally skilled opponent, a fraction of a second is all that really matters in order for them to kill you versus you killing them. However, the AEK is spec'd a little bit more for slightly closer ranges than the M416, so on bigger maps like this one here where there's a lot of long range potential combat, the AEK was not quite as effective as the M416, so I found it to be a better choice. And here I switched to the good old 1911 to finish off an opponent. I love the 1911. I think it's a great sidearm. It's very good at dealing with one opponent. Multiple targets, it gets very tricky because you pretty much have to land all your shots to get 2 kills with it, and even then it might not be enough depending on where you hit them. So it's not the best sidearm for trying to take down 2 people, but you can reload quickly, and it's just a lot of fun for dealing with one target. The shots do a lot of damage. Now, the 1911 sees a small downgrade for Battlefield 1. It kind of gets reduced range on it. Its max damage is reduced by like 1 damage, but it still allows you to get a 3-shot kill. However, in Battlefield 1, since the primary weapons, especially the fully automatic primary weapons, are far less damage intensive compared to Battlefield 4, the sidearms now gain a huge amount of power. So it makes a lot of sense to use sidearms as your primary if you're playing like the scout class in close quarter combat. You can absolutely go toe to toe with some of the fully automatic weapons, especially machine guns out there. You should, if you're a good shot, be able to take out a machine gun player with your 1911. So I just really like that sort of dynamic again. Sidearms are really powerful and fun to use, and the good players can really take them toe to toe against primary weapons. Now, one of the goofier things about Loadout is that I'm usually just trying to get footage of the recommended loadout, so I don't go and pick up kits from my fallen foes, even when I'm out of ammo. So here I'm actually using my sidearm and have been for a while just because I have no more ammo with my primary, and it ultimately ends up getting me killed. It'd be interesting to see how much further I could have gone had I started picking up kits and using somebody else's primary weapon, perhaps a bit further. Now, Paracel Storm is another good TDM map. It's got an interesting mixture of big, wide open, long range areas, and then you can draw people into close quarters in the building fighting. So it's got a bit of building camping and a lot of flanking around the outsides of the map. The loud sounds of the storm do make it very difficult to hear your opponent sneaking up on you. Also, another thing that I really like about Battlefield 1 is that the infantry movement and footsteps are much more pronounced than they were before. So you can actually listen to your opponent sneaking up on you, which makes it a much more important element to the game. Something that I do miss about games like, say, Counter-Strike, where there wasn't a whole bunch of other sounds going on in the environment that could easily distract you from footsteps. So hopefully Battlefield 1 will be a little bit more about listening and stuff, especially since spotting has been toned down significantly and the mini-map is no longer a huge indicator of where your opponent is, because when you're firing unsuppressed weapons, it doesn't put you on the mini-map. So they had to do something to allow you to find your opponent a bit better, and that is sound, which is something I'm really excited about. I think it's putting a bit more skill back in the game. Now, wrapping up this loadout, I gotta say I like it overall. It's a fast-moving, quick, hard-hitting loadout. I just don't like the iron sights. They really do affect this weapon negatively when it comes to accuracy. Put a Coyote, put a Cobra on there, and you'll be good to go. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to leave your comments for next week's show. I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.